Welcome to this special episode of Miracles in Manhattan, where we dive a little bit deeper into one of the hosts in response to a question that no one has yet asked, but probably is wondering. And I'm talking, of course, about the Reverend Stephanie Wild, my co-host, and her psychic mediumship, which is something that we've never really stopped to talk about what that means. So,
Yeah, and actually, someone did ask about it in a roundabout way, in a negative
okay.
way. I got a little hate comment.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I did. On one of my posts, announcing this show about A Course in Miracles. And, the comment was psychic mediumship has nothing whatsoever to do with teaching of A Course in Miracles. And
And your response was, neither does Christ.
no, my response was, yeah, it has everything to do with it.
Right.
Because psychic mediumship means connecting to source, connecting to spirit, connecting to God, whatever you want to call it, connecting to the quantum field, infinite intelligence. So it has everything to do with it.
Okay. When you say, do you think that this person was coming at you from like a religious standpoint or an academic standpoint?
No, I think it was like a new age standpoint. I think it was like, A Course in Miracles is not about psychic mediumship. I imagine that she thought psychic mediumship was all about predictions and fortune telling and all that kind of thing. And A Course in Miracles is about returning to love, returning to oneness. So I think she's
Okay.
yeah, she had in mind the carnival-esque side.
Right. So they weren't so much about, no, this is a theological text. That they were. It sounds like this person was more like, this is a self-improvement, self-care kind of, self-realization kind of book, and psychics are frauds.
Yes, yeah, something like that, to put it crudely, yeah.
Are psychics frauds, Stephanie?
85% of them, yeah, but not me.
But not you.
Mediums, 85% are fraudulent.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, so that's why, we get a bad name, and it's just something that happened with the history of it. It's just something that happened because spiritualism, when it began, was late 19th century, and it came of an age when Tesla was hitting the scene, and it and Barnum and Bailey Circus as well. It sort of all
Okay.
got mixed up together, and there were two, and then mediums started touring and getting on stage, and their purpose was to show that we could all communicate directly with spirit, directly with God, directly with infinite intelligence. We didn't need the strictures of organized religion. We didn't need intermediaries. We could all do it ourselves. And that's why they were called demonstrations of mediumship. We can all do it. That's the whole point. We can all go straight to whatever you want to call God, spirit. But it became a bit of a sideshow because, of course, people want to make money out of it, and so they
Right.
started doing magic-y things and fake things and stunts, and it all got mixed up with that, and it still is.
Yeah. An analogy there would be the way that some people don't believe hypnosis exists because of stage hypnosis.
Yeah, stagecraft. Yeah. And some some magicians have some psychic abilities, and some people call themselves mentalists, and they're using psychic abilities. It's all kind of mixed up in stage shows.
Okay.
But
So
that's not what I do. I'm all about.
Yeah, let's get out of that muddle. So tell
Yeah.
me what is a psychic? What's a psychic medium? Is there a difference?
Well, yeah. So the way I explain it is that to be psychic means that I expand my consciousness into, if you will, imagine the ocean, of consciousness, right? The quantum field. And when a client comes to me and says, what's going to happen, in my life, then I will tune into their timeline. So it's like I'm finding their particular current in the ocean and following that along. And I can tell them what fish are coming up, what predators are going to come up, where the cold and hot spots are, where might be the best turn off into this subcurrent or that one. So it's all the streams of consciousness, if you will. Now, a medium, to put it crudely, has conversations with dead people.
Right.
So those are spirits who were once human and they no longer inhabit a body, but they're conscious, separate, conscious entities with personalities and everything.
Sapient spirits.
Yeah.
Animals need not apply.
No, animals. I talk to animals as well.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah. Because we communicate with thought, and
Right.
so animals, absolutely. I have quite a number of clients who come to me to better communicate with their horses most often.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. And those people are very intuitive. Because they do have a relationship with their horses. They have to. I mean, horse and rider. If you're going to be a good horseman, you need to have this relationship. And so often, what I tell them is just confirming what they already sensed, and so I help them to enhance their ability to know what their horse needs or is thinking or wants.
Yeah, I would imagine that if I feel like your horse just wants you to be a better person because the horse is pretty good as it is.
Yeah, but they want to be fed, warmer food, for example, because they're getting old, or
okay.
they have they need something, they're getting an infection in their foot, so that needs a bit of attention, and things like that.
Okay. So, so spirits, basically,
Yeah.
anything that was alive, no
Yeah.
longer is still about in one way or another, and you can communicate with them.
Yeah, and I would say that communicating with animals who are alive is more psychic than mediumship, although it's kind of a bit of a hybrid.
Okay. Did you define psychic? Is it?
Yeah, I said I expand my consciousness, right? So if I
Okay.
do that, then I can go find the horse and spirit and sort of talk to them. So it's a bit of a hybrid. I mean, these words are a bit inadequate to describe all these things, but that's pretty close.
Great. Okay. What led you to? Okay, so if there it seems like a person who is going to go down the path of practicing their mediumship or developing it must have at some point had an experience saying that they have the intuition to do so, right?
Yeah, most likely. I mean, I think you can just come in cold and just start to practice and get it. But yeah, most likely someone has sensed something or experienced something and comes in to explore that, pull on that string, if you will.
And what was that for you?
Well, I went to a class to enhance my intuition because I'd been through my second divorce and I thought, why the hell am I not having good relationships? Maybe I need to learn to trust myself or learn to read my heart better or something like that. And as I continued with the class, I realized that some of the things I'd experienced previously in my life from childhood were mediumship. And the first thing I kind of remembered was when I was about let's see, 8 or 9, and I had this doll, old-fashioned, with an old-fashioned dress and whatnot, and I heard this voice telling me her name is Eliza Jane.
Oh.
Yeah, and I sort of was like, oh, well, I don't know, maybe name her this or that. And then I heard again, her name is Eliza Jane. So I thought, oh, okay, well, that's her name.
That's creepy because I know a precocious and intuitive young lady who is also named Eliza Jane.
Who, my daughter?
Daughter.
Well, come to find out that this voice was my great-grandmother. Because I went down to my mother at that time and I said, oh, I named my doll Eliza Jane. And she just about fainted. And then she said, we've got to go tell Nana, right? We've got to go. So we went to tell Nana. And then my Nana, when I said I named my doll Eliza Jane, burst out into tears. So I was like, what? Hello? Can someone please explain?
Did she reveal her name was not, in fact, Nana at that time?
So, yeah, it turns out that, my great-grandmother was called Eliza Jane. So so as I was remembering this and putting all these things together, I realized, oh, she spoke to me. She spoke to me. So I named my daughter after her, and actually I named myself after her. Her name was Eliza Jane Wilde. So I changed my name once I thought of myself as a medium, and I was qualified and all that. I'd passed all my tests. I took on her name as well.
Really?
Yeah. I changed my name.
I do know that you did that. I thought that was because of a marriage divorce thing.
No, I chose it and I changed it to honor her.
Why didn't the spirits tell you that they were going to rip up my fucking street tonight? I'd like to know. It's fine. I'll soundtrack this. It'll be fine.
And then later, I remembered that there was once, and this is going to go in my next book, I was younger than that. I was 5 or something like that, and there still existed traveling salespeople. They were selling World Book encyclopedias door
This is
to
in
door.
Australia?
In Australia. Mm-hmm. And so they came to the door and they're trying to sell my mother and these encyclopedias, and my mother's like, well, she's too young, because I was saying, oh, it's great for her at school, blah, blah, blah. She's too young. And I was like, no, I want the encyclopedias. I wanted knowledge. So she's like, no, it's too young. And so he said, well, I'll have one of my colleagues come over and they can test her intelligence or something like this. No, I'm not. This is like part of their sales strategy, which is brilliant, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So then this woman turns up some other night, and she gives me these IQ tests, and one thing she did was open this like picture book, and ask me to name things in it, and one thing was a train, a part of a train, just one of the cars. And I said, oh, that's a car.
Right.
And she said, no, that's a train. And I said, well, no, that's just part of the train. It's a car,
right.
One of the cars. She's like, oh. And they're sort of like, this is interesting. And then one of the other pictures was an automobile, like we drive around in
like a car.
Like a car.
Yeah.
And I said, that's a motor car.
Okay.
A motor car. Now, and she said, well, it's just a car. And I was like, well, that's a car too. That's a train car. That's a motor car. She's like, well, we just say car. And I was like, oh, we just say car now? And I looked around at my mother and this woman, and they're like, what the fuck is this child
I need
talking
you
about?
to clarify. Did anybody in Australia say motor car?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. But where I was drawing my knowledge from was my past life, you see, when I was a grown-up at the time when people did say motor car, train car.
Right, because car is an abbreviation of carriage, isn't it?
Yeah. So there were different kinds. And so when I said this, they sort of were like a bit weirded out. And at that point, right, I was about to sort of give myself away, if you will, as this like being that had been on earth before. And I heard these voices having a conversation. They were having a quick discussion about me. And then all of this knowledge, all of these facts started sort of flashing, swirling, spiraling in my mind and leaving me. And I could feel all this knowledge from my past or from my soul, from my true, full spiritual self, leaving me. And I said to these two beings, stop. I don't want to lose all this. I want to be smart. I want to be smart. And so they said, oh, okay. And they stopped it at one point. And so then I continued on. And I was a very, very, very clever child. So that is something else that I remembered.
When you say that, your knowledge of a past life was being removed from you, right? Are you saying that you were able to recognize terminologies that might have been used in like a Victorian setting and stuff like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Or were you saying that you had actually almost like a visual recall of living another life?
No, just the sort of the facts. I wasn't really remembering the past life, and all of the knowledge was not just from that one past life, but it was just knowledge that I was bringing with me into this incarnation. And so what they drew from me, what they made me forget, was more than just from that past life. It was from all the all the lives, and we all know all of this because we've all had other experiences. When we come to Earth, we're made to forget. That's the whole point of being here. Because if we knew all the answers to the test, I mean, there wouldn't be any point to the test. We come here to test ourselves and to remember spiritual principles in a visceral, emotional, physical way.
That's very interesting. I sort of have like a light, I don't know, I get a sense of that sort of thing sometimes.
Yeah. Tell me.
Well, what it ends up turning into is me measuring myself against this other sort of version of me that never was, or was, if you want.
Oh, yeah.
And finding myself wanting, which I laugh because this makes me recall the episode where we discussed being in competition with God, because I feel like, at least the way my ego works, is that like I do want to bounce back, and I do want the answers.
Yeah.
And I want to be, the wizard.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a side note. But wow, damn. Okay, so that's certainly a remarkable impetus for sort of starting that journey. And you use it to help people in your practice today.
Yeah. Yep. So people come to me because they want spiritual growth, whether that's the question they come with or not. Like, some people come with, can you help me communicate with my horses? And or they'll say, what does my horse need? And help them on their spiritual growth so that they can better communicate with their horses. Or someone will say, am I going to get a boyfriend? And, the key to getting a boyfriend is spiritual growth, right? The happier you are, the more serene you are, the more fully in yourself you are, the more likely it is that you'll attract someone similarly wonderful.
Right. So do you feel like giving somebody anything other than that piece of advice about whether or not they'll find a mate is like cheating? is like giving the answers, so to speak?
No, it's not like cheating because we do need to grow through specific experiences. So the specifics are what we have to work with. You know, so how we handle a certain situation is going to help us grow or not.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, so they work together. You have to do it step by step by step.
Well, maybe in the next installment of this sort of mini series, we can talk about ways of getting at a certain situation. And
Yeah.
the only one that you've really exposed me to, again, is tarot, and I find that, especially as a sort of lit boy, very interesting because it's narrative and storytelling, and it's not. It's open world, open ended.
Yeah, and we need the narrative, the story. I mean, we're each on our hero's journey down here on Earth, and we experience time as linear. And in other words, we have a life narrative because it helps us learn, because we can remember what happened and what the consequences of acting that way was, and act differently or the same. So yeah, tarot does that.
Right. Okay. And maybe that's an even a good thing to tackle right up front, because it does have, that is one of the more to the naive bystander, still has the carnivalesque kind of trappings that were
absolutely, it does.
But like, I don't know. Literally every noise in the city is happening right now.
I think that's your smoke alarm or something.
Yeah, it's like, great. I'll have to find it and destroy it. Yeah, I don't know if I've said this before on a recording, but my faith or confidence or belief in your abilities, it comes from the fact that I've known you for upwards of a decade or so.
Yeah.
And you're still allowed to come over.
Yeah, I know.
Having told me
right?
these things.
I know, right? That's right. And not everyone has allowed me to still come over. People have dropped by and dropped off.
Well, you have to have that moment where you're either like, okay, I accept this.
Right.
And I don't necessarily need to believe it,
No.
but I need to accept that this person who I care about.
And trust, because you've had the evidence beforehand of me not being nuts.
Right. Oh, yes, that's true. That did help. But yeah, you have to at least accept to an extent that this person, that's their thing, that's their jam, that's their path. And once you start down that road of acceptance, at least for me, I had no interest in clinging onto the belief that any of this stuff was nonsense.
Yeah,
So,
right. And that's what happens with psychic mediums. And I'm in a mentorship program with a psychic medium who's far more advanced than I am, maybe. Anyway, a bunch of them are in the closet. I mean, that's what we call it. You know, they haven't revealed themselves to the general public as mediums. Yeah, because of this kind of thing. You know, because people are just going to be like, what? And I mean, that was part of why I was opted out of a corporate job, a corporate career, because, I couldn't not be this anymore. I couldn't pretend this wasn't the truth of existence anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, it makes people really uncomfortable.
Certainly. Side question, and we can take this out, but probably we won't. If you had stayed in a corporate environment, in a world that is rapidly coming to form in my mind, and somebody was like, Stephanie, we have hired you, in fact, because of your psychic skills, and we would like you to be on the strat team and help us figure out what the competitor has coming. Would you do that?
Absolutely. I would love that job. I would love that job. And, one of my jobs, just on a road trip back from the client, this big pitch that was like the life or death of the agency. I had my tarot cards with me, and they asked me, just for fun, tell us, are we going to win one or both of these big, huge pieces of business? And the tarot card said neither, and I was like, and one of my colleagues was laughing, and he was like, oh shit, and I was like, well, it'll be, and I sort of danced around it, but yeah, we lost both of them. The agency,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. So anyone who has corporate power, I could totally help.
Yeah, of course, Act 2 of this mini-series features somebody telling you who botched the pitch. And then conflict ensues. Interesting. So cool. All right, I think that's great for first one, honestly.
Cool.
Let's go. And so next time, let's do something with tarot. We can do reading.
Yeah, we can bring someone in for a reading.
And if we can't find any friends, you can come at me.
Well, I can do that as well.
Yeah, that too.
So if anyone wants to be on the show,
God, think of this.
miraclesinmanhattan@gmail.com.
Yeah, or
let us know you want to be on the show.
Yeah, or DM us on Twitter at
Wild
Manhattan. So what we would do, and this is real. I don't know why. That's
as far as anything is real.
Yeah, exactly. That's me reassuring myself. If you're not in the New York City area, we would do a Skype sort of thing.
Yeah.
So especially if you have a decent microphone, that'd be great. But if not, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So literally, if you would like a tarot card reading by a like Apple Podcast famous psychic medium, hello, that's on offer. So get at us, please.
Yeah, see you then.
All right. Yeah.
Bye.
See you then. Thanks for tuning into this special edition of Miracles in Manhattan. Have a good one. Keep it wavy. Well.
All right. Well, that's easy. You can get that one out.
All right. That was great, actually.
Yeah.
And that was I think, far better than the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Different.
Yeah, we can basically just put that out.